Welcome to All the Right Marketing, where we talk with business owners and industry leaders about marketing their programs and products. Our guests share tips that can help anyone who loves books, whether you are a librarian, bookseller, author, or publisher. The truth of the matter is, here is this advice. This advice coming out of these conversations are for all creative marketing across industries. Today, we have Lisa Woodruff, who is the founder and CEO of Organize 365, which helps busy women finally get their home and paper organized in 1 year with a functional organizing system that works. Her passion is to help women, and I bet probably help men too, get organized so they can spend their time pursuing their unique purpose and sharing their gifts with the world. You know, we actually have known each other for quite a long time. Lisa and I were introduced by a mutual colleague, and she interviewed me on her podcast, which has some phenomenal interviews. So I'm going to make sure that we link you over there. So we're going to talk with Lisa today about getting your home organized, giving you a foundation to manage crises when they come up, to be able to pivot when you need to, which I think we have all been experiencing. So let's welcome Lisa. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's begin with your journey. And we kind of talked about it a little bit before we started recording. In 2008, you had something going on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, it was like the next Great Depression for everyone, right? So it probably started for me in 2007. The company I was with direct sales, they'd gone through a couple of bankruptcies. So we were already feeling the financial pinch. Then you went through the regular 2008 stock market crash, all of the things that went along with that. 2009, my father got sick. My parents had gotten divorced in 2005. He got sick. So my sister and I were power of healthcare, passed away in 2009. So we were settling the estate in 2010, went back to teaching in 2010. Quit my job December of 2011 because I was failing literally at everything, Maria. My marriage, luckily, praise the Lord, was still intact only because my husband is a saint. I was not the mom I wanted to be. My house was a wreck. And my administrator told me I wasn't a very good teacher. And I was about to turn 40. And like in my 20s, I would have doubled down on whatever my administrator wanted. But by 39, I knew that she was wrong and I was right. Like I wasn't a bad teacher, but if she didn't value me as a teacher in her school, then why was I still there? Like when I clearly, no one could be a mom, but somebody else could step in and become the teacher in that classroom. And so I decided to go home and reclaim my house and my marriage and my kids, and I would figure out the income from there.
Well, and I think just your experience from 2008 up to 2011, you had so much going on that I can see how you could lose your sense of, organization in the home and your, sense of CEO of the home. So at that point, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how your business was born and how it is here to help people.
Yes. So I came home 2012 after, I did a couple more weeks of teaching, and I went to the grocery store because that's what you do when you want to get control of your life. Like you go shopping. So I went to the grocery store, like filled the cart full of food. We did not have enough money for this. Like I'm sweating as we run the credit card through. It's like $300 worth of food. I come home. I don't even know why I went to the grocery store first. I come home to put the food away. I open the refrigerator and freezer. There's no room for this food. So I'm like, all right, well, let me put in the pantry what I can put in the pantry. I open our cabinets that are a pantry, no room for this food. The counters are clear. And now I've just got bags of food sitting on the floor. I sit down at the kitchen table. And I was like, in the past, in order to get caught up on things, I would just go to the store, restock the house, and restart my life. And I was like, Lisa, you are in a totally, like, your kids are middle school age. Now you have no income. Now you have too much food. You can't put it all away. And I started opening all the cabinets in my kitchen. And I didn't recognize my own stuff. Like I still had baby cups in there, and my kids were in middle school. And I was like, when did I lose control, and how in the world am I ever going to get it back? So I had a blog before. I was in a blogger forum. I'd published a book before, and I knew that SEO and Google was like the wave of the future. So I thought, well, I'll start blogging about how I'm going to take back my life and get organized. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to get organized, but I know it'll be organizing related. I'll name it Organize 365, and I'll figure out from there how we're going to monetize it in the future. But I've got to get this house under control.
I love it. So it really was a journey. Your building the business was a journey of your own doing, of you going through the process. And I liked when you described it that you were living a reactive life versus a proactive life. I think a lot of people can resonate with that, especially, you know, the people listening to this who are business owners and trying to trying to really pivot in what we're dealing with right now. We have a lot of booksellers that are listening who are trying to get patrons into the store. We have librarians who their libraries aren't even open yet. So instead of, you know, living in this reactive lifestyle, you really focused on let's be proactive so that you can learn organization and you can really be in control in an area of your life, correct?
Yes, I think that for everyone, life gets moving too fast and you get run over. You know how they say like we're like the hamster on the wheel? It's so true. And then they keep spinning the wheel faster and faster. But if you spin it fast enough, the hamster just starts tumbling in the wheel until it starts running again. And so
like the washing machine when it goes bonk,
it's just like and no one stops. Like when your parents get divorced, when your kids come down with an illness, when you lose your job, when the economy get like the world didn't stop for you to get caught up again. Like it just keeps going. And so you just keep running faster. And once you get run over, you move into this reactive mode and to turn it back into productivity, it is a huge mental mindset shift and a total reordering of your complete structure. Like you have to carve out the time in order to turn the ship 180 degrees. And everyone's going to say, oh, you don't have time for that. It's going to cost too much money. You need to just keep going on the hamster wheel. Like you don't get support when you turn the ship. But then when you start to have proactive success, then people are like, oh, that's great. How did you do that? I was like, oh, I did it when all you people said that I shouldn't do it.
Exactly. And I like it because you really take everybody through the steps. So if they are on that hamster wheel, you're like, here's the first step to getting off and to reclaiming this life. And I love that you say organization is a learnable skill, because there are people who will claim, oh, well, I'm just not that organized. I'm not that type of person. Well, I don't know. Is that an excuse that people are telling themselves? If it's a learnable skill, it might be.
No, I was that person. Like when I started Organized 365, I thought, well, I have to get my life organized again because I was that born organized child. And I was that mom that got overwhelmed with 2 kids born 18 months apart, but then I got reorganized again. And I was like, I just need to get reorganized again. And since I'm blessed enough to be an organized person, I'll be able to figure it out. But I'm really sorry for those of you that never figured it out as a child. I guess you're just not organized. That's the message we heard from professional organizers in the 80s and 90s, that there were these 2 people. There was the born organized person and the not born organized person. And the not born organized person needed a professional organizer to step in and set up the systems and come back in and maintain them. So it's not you. That was the message that you received. But what I found in getting my own life in order, I started my own professional organization business and my clients learned how to get organized. So it was 18 months in that I realized, oh my gosh, we're wrong. It's learnable. And that's the message I've been getting out there is like, no, it's a skill, like riding your bike, tying your shoes. It's a little bit more complicated, but everyone can learn it. And so the first myth you have to get rid of is the fact that you're either born organized or not. No, you've either already learned the skill or haven't learned the skill, but no matter what, you're going to keep going through phases of life, your childhood, your 20s and 30s, your 40s and 50s, your 60s and beyond. Every 20 years, you need different organization. So even if you were organized, you're going to get unorganized and you need to relearn the skill of organization for the next phase of life. And that's what I teach.
I love that. And, you know, as we're talking about marketing in this series, like creative marketing, one of the things I love about what you're doing is you are speaking to a pain point for other individuals. And I think that's a big part of marketing success is you're saying, okay, who is my target audience? What is their pain point? And how can I help solve that pain point for them? And that's exactly what you're doing here. So when we talk about this, I actually just reviewed your new book that came out last year. And I loved the book because it's talking about paper versus the digital society. So as we kind of transition, you know, I'm telling everyone about your business. We'll link to in the show notes where they can find out more if they want to get details. You're talking to people's pain point, but let's kind of transition into this whole concept of paper versus digital and why you have strong views on paper. And you can kind of talk a little bit about your book as well.
Yes. So I've self-published a couple of books. Last year, I traditionally published with Putnam Random House, the book, The Paper Solution. And thank you, Maria, for reviewing the book. And then I'll be self-publishing again this summer. So I've done both. But the paper solution, like if you're finding out the thing that is uniquely you, that you're going to market and develop and grow your business and your brand around, you're usually so close to it, you don't notice it at first. So it takes a long time for you to notice it. And if you think about why people refer you or the comments that they make about you, that's usually what your unique gifting is that you don't realize. And so the thing that saves me is my Sunday basket. I created it 19 years ago when I went through the first unorganized phase in my life when I had 2 kids. And then the second time I went through this unorganized phase, it wasn't until I started doing my own Sunday basket again for a while that I realized it was a thing. And the second myth that I heard in the 80s and 90s that I have to debunk for people is this fact that we are going to be, or we are a paperless society. And the United States, we are not. Like, I don't care how. Go try to get your compliant driver's license so that you can get on an airplane in October, and you will find out real quick, we are not paperless. You need to find your social security card. Do you even know where it is? Or your birth certificate or your passport? Like, these are all physical papers in the United States that you must have. You don't have to have these papers in other countries. Japan is paperless. They don't have physical birth certificates. So if you are looking at Marie Kondo, who says be paperless, you have to realize in Japan, they are paperless. In the United States, we're not. Like, your medical records.
Everyone needs to take a pause right here and take that in. Yeah. That's huge. And I will tell you that the paper solution is on my husband's nightstand because he is a paper person. And I just need him to realize there are certain papers you save and certain papers you don't. So I highlighted a ton in your book, and I'm excited for him to pick it up and read it.
Yes, you don't need all paper. Like, you need about 20% of what you've saved. 85% of your filing cabinet you will never reference again, but the 15% you need. Like, you need medical paperwork. Your medical paperwork is digitized 7 years back, but not all of it is digitized, and it's not digitized after 7 years back. Not only that, when you go into a hospital, when you go to a new doctor's appointment, if you're going to a different network or even inside of the same network, it is so much easier to have a conversation when you're handing a physical binder over or a physical summary that you've typed up for the doctor. Doctors love paper. They are digital. They prefer you come in with a synopsis already typed up. Everyone in the medical community that sees the organized 365 binder says that everyone should have these. It will speed up care. It will save you money. It will save time. You'll get a more accurate diagnosis and better treatment.
And when we're talking about entrepreneurs, wherever they are listening and they're thinking, well, I don't know if this is for me. I don't need to be organized in the sense of paper. I will tell you that we lost a family member recently and who owned a business. And it's really difficult on the survivors in the family if you are not organized at all with your papers. So there is a simple solution to what you can do right now so that you can feel organized. You can help your family members, God forbid something happens. But at the same time, the point of what Lisa's talking about is you free up so much mental space when you have your stuff organized. You free up that space for your creativity. Entrepreneurs, people who are trying to market to get messages into the world with whatever product or service that they're offering, you free up space to be able to do those things for your business because you're not being held down by, the disorganization, the disarray in your life.
Yes. And the ability to get your ideas out of your head and onto paper facilitates more creativity. Like, whenever I'm writing a book, I always write down on index cards all the different ideas I have. And then I group those index cards by chapter, or I'll make the outline. And that physical writing down, you can do it on the computer as well. But being able to do it like sitting in the sun on the floor with index cards, it's just a different energy than sitting at your desk in front of a computer. It allows you to kind of see and manipulate things differently than you can in a digital format. And when you are writing, when you are running a business, when you are running a household, when you are taking, so much of the information that you think is either digital or paper is actually in your head. And so when you're recreating your medical binder, so much of the information in the packet that we give you with our binder, you have to pull out of your head. It's not digital or in paper. Same in your business. There's a lot you're holding on in your head that if you are to hire your first executive assistant or staff member or partner with someone, there's so much that needs to be pulled out of your head that isn't digital or paper. And being able to write that down and write down all of your ideas and capture your ideas in a way that you don't forget them so you can go back and review them on a regular basis is very powerful.
Yeah, I have a great example. I sat down probably about 2 years ago and started really pulling out those SOPs, those standard operating procedures from our business, and putting them on paper, and then having a team member help me put them into a systems program on the computer. Because every time we would repeat a task, so, I run a publishing company and we have a certain number of books that come out every year. The process of getting that book from idea to market was something that I repeated several times a year. And I was pulling those tasks out of my head. So once they were on the computer and they were on paper, I freed up all that space. So there's a lot of ways that you can systemize and take things out of your brain, put it on paper, put it digitally to free up that space. So Lisa, tell me a little bit more about how people can find you, find out more about the Sunday Basket, find out more about your process and the different seasons in your life. Like you said, organization is going to look different from your 30s to your 40s to your 50s. So where can we learn more?
Well, you're listening to Maria's podcast. So if you like podcasts, I'm a prolific podcaster. My podcast is called Organize 365. I love to talk about big ideas from all different genres and walks of life, and then extrapolate those into how they impact us, especially as female head of household. So the podcast is the best way. If you want to see the behind the scenes of my life, I'm active on Instagram, especially Instagram stories every day. And then I'm Organized 365 on all your social media, the web, everywhere.
And you talked about another book coming out. Do we get to know a little bit about what this next book is going to be about?
Yes. So I don't really have a title. I think it's going to be a year to get organized, but I'll ask my audience what they want the title to be. And it's actually the memoir of that year of 2012, from coming home and realizing that I was in complete disarray to starting my business, reclaiming my home, that 365 days. Mostly my thought process as I went through different areas of my house, not actually how to do it, but more the physical and emotional process of doing it, which I don't think anyone's ever put into a book before.
That's amazing. And are you pulling a lot of that from your blog? Probably the content you've already put into the world, and you're like pulling those ideas from the blog?
Actually, no, like it's 100% new. Like it's just me sitting down and reflecting, like when you're sitting in your bedroom on the floor, going through your dresser, which I ended up totally getting rid of. And like, I'm looking at pantyhose, and I had like all the different pantyhose and all the different sizes. And I put them back in the little Vera Bradley quilted thing. And I put them back in the drawer. And as I'm getting ready to put them back, I go, wait a minute, do these even fit? And so I go to try them on, and they didn't fit. Like they were size AB. I'm like not size the AB. I don't even think I'm a size of pantyhose anymore. Furthermore, when was the last time you wore pantyhose? I haven't worn them in over a decade. So I mean, this is what the book is like. Why am I saving stuff that doesn't even fit and I'm never going to wear again? But it's all of our realities. Like it's hard to, as you are organizing, really be objective and think, I'm never going to wear pantyhose again.
I can't wait to read it. And I'm going to really be excited about the pantyhose part because I heard it firsthand. So ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find Lisa for more information. We look forward to our next interview. That will air every Tuesday. So these are released every Tuesday. Until then, think outside the box and don't be afraid to reach your audience in new and creative ways. Don't forget to think about who they are, what they need, and go from there. Thank you so much, Lisa.